Shirley MacLaine talks about her first love, dancing, as we talk to singer Dr. John Ireland about his latest hit record. We meet the fastest talker on television and take a look at some movies too bad to be true. All this and more in this, our August the 10th edition of Open End.
Thank you to studio audience, thank you to you out there, and welcome to programme number 4 of Open End. Yes, we've been running now for precisely 1 month. One's still getting a lot of questions about whether this programme Open End is live or not, and what does that mean. Indeed, the programme is live. As you're watching, so we're transmitting, and it's all happening at exactly the same time. We had a lot of comment on Joyce Blair, our guest last week, who proved very, very popular indeed. And many people commented on the dance insert, particularly one newspaper critic who pointed out that we were extremely fortunate to be able to call on overseas material. Indeed, that dance insert was not overseas material. It was produced by Ray Wilson here in the Open End studio earlier in the week. Well, we move away now to tonight's programme. We'll be talking at a later stage to Nikki Kelly, who is the star of what's known as That Audacious Farce, currently running in Johannesburg. I think you'll remember the late Jerry Wilmot, of undoubted fame from LM Radio. I don't know if you know, however, that in the Guinness Book of Records, he was in fact cited as the world's fastest broadcaster. It's not enough just to be fast in terms of speech. It has, in actual fact, to be legible speech that one can understand fully and well. Well, in actual fact, there is an abundance of fast talkers in the film industry today. But listen to someone who really is the master of the art. Do you, in fact, know this man?
Hi, I'm John Machida Jr., the world's fastest talker. We're here in my backyard to do a segment for entertainment tonight. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be terrific. You may not hear very much of it because I'm going to talk so fast, but let's get started. Okay, Eunice, travel plans. I need to be in New York on Monday, LA on Tuesday, New York on Wednesday, LA on Thursday, New York on Friday. Got it? Got it. Got it.
You may not recognize his name or his face outside of his world-famous Federal Express commercial, but John McCoody Jr. is now internationally known.
John, are you the fastest talker in the world?
Well, I think I am, and I'm waiting for Guinness to finally verify that. When I was on That's Incredible, I did the song Trouble from Music Man, which is 534 words and takes about 5 minutes in the actual show, and I do the complete song in a minute. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And in conclusion, Jim, Bill, Bob, Carl, Fred, Low, Dork, Adolf, and Ted. Business is business, and as we all know, in order to get something done, you got to do something. In order to do something, we got to get to work, so let's get to work. Thank you for tuning me. I grew up in a family with 5 sisters, and to get a word in edgewise, I had to talk a little quickly. Actually, there was a cerebral palsy fair a few blocks away from my house on Long Island, and they announced that Guinness would be setting up a booth, and anyone that broke a record, they would donate money to cerebral palsy. And I looked through the book, decided I wasn't going to swallow pieces of lead pipe or eat wire hangers, so I figured, well, I'll do the fast talking.
What does one do to practice fast talking?
You close yourself in a room and you sit there and you say something, and then you say it again, and you say it again, and you say it again and again. And when you're 12 years old, you don't really realize how obnoxious you're being when you do something like that for 20 hours a day.
Didn't you drive your family nuts?
Absolutely crazy.
What'd your sisters do?
Everyone, shut up! Ma, make him stop! I can't believe he's doing it. Well, actually, I was kind of used to torture my sisters. I used to lock them in the room and make them listen to me and see if they could understand what I was saying. I can't believe I'm telling you this. That's the truth. Petey, you did a bang-up job. I'm putting you in charge of Pittsburgh. Sure. I know it's perfect, Peter. That's why I picked Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's perfect. Peter, may I call you Pete?
Call me Pete.
Pete.
John's performance in the memorable spot recently won him the highest honor in the world of commercials, the Clio Award.
Did you give an acceptance speech?
Well, I had one all prepared, and then no one was allowed to make any speeches. My award was the last one that they gave out after 2.5 hours of the ceremony. And when I went up there, the president of the Clios, who presented me with the award, said, "You've got to say something." It caught me totally off guard, so I ran up to the microphone and said the first thing that came to my mind, which was, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And in conclusion, Jim, Bill, Bob, Carl, Fred, Low, Dork, Adolf, and Ted, I'd like to say thank you to anyone that's made this commercial possible. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you very much.
What do you think the Clio will do for your career?
Hopefully a lot. I don't know that it's going to have that much weight. People have said to me, casting directors have said, whether or not you win the award, we still know that you're the guy in the commercial, and we, think you're terrific in the commercial. We want to give you a shot to do something else. If nothing else, it's something nice to have around the house, a nice conversation piece, but hopefully it'll keep me working for a long time.
Congratulations on your deal in Denver, Dave. I'm putting you down to deal with Dallas. Don, is it a deal? Do we have a deal? It's a deal. I got to go. I got a call coming in. Hi, Doc.
John, it really is nice talking to you. This is probably one of the fastest-paced interviews I've ever done. We're just about out of time, but I do want to ask you one more question.
That's okay, I'll talk fast.
Gotta go, Dave. Disconnecting. Gotta go, Dick. Disconnecting. Gotta go, Dad. Disconnecting.
You could certainly save money on that one. A 50-minute television program could be reduced to 25 minutes. Open end from about 30 minutes could be reduced to 15 minutes. And you could all go to bed early. Wouldn't that be absolutely wonderful? Perhaps Ray Wilson will agree to try it on sometime. Well, good movies, as we all know, live on. But there's another kind of movie that, according to our research, lives on because it's so dreadful. Here's a look at some real winners.
Lousy. Crummy. The worst movie ever made.
One, please. You know, nobody sets out to make a bad movie, but lately whole cults of fans and fanatics have sprung up who clamor for some of the worst movies ever made. Thank you. These films never won any Oscars, but lately they've been enjoying great success in revivals, on television, even on home video, because some of them are so bad they're actually fun to watch.
This is the jungle.
Take, for example, one of the best of the worst, Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla. Yes, movie fans, that's actually the name of this 1952 epic. Lugosi made screen history as the original Dracula 20 years earlier, but by this time he was reduced to co-starring with a gorilla-suited Ham, not to mention Duke Mitchell and Sammy Petrillo, the poor man's Martin and Lewis.
Boy, could I use a good cup of coffee right now. Come on, Duke. Hey, wait for me.
Oh, brother. It also starred Charlita in a Dorothy Lamour hand-me-down sarong. What's so wrong with this movie? Well, just about everything. But it's not as bad or as famous as the cult favorite Plan 9 from Outer Space. Lugosi died before this film was finished, but that didn't stop director Edward Wood or the movie's co-stars Tor Johnson, a man who could scare Al Haig, and Vampira, a ghoul queen famous for her tiny waistline. Another film famous for its measurements is Terror of Tiny Town, the only all-midget musical western known to mankind. If putting midgets into a musical western is a strange idea, then consider putting Kris Kringle into a science fiction film.
You're going to relax permanently. Tomorrow marks the end of Operation Santa Claus.
Gee, let's hope not. This 1964 extravaganza has long been a favorite with worst movie fans, but it's recently taken on added luster, because if you look very closely, you can spot an 8-year-old Pia Zadora as a Martian child. Pia's outgrown her Martian costume, but she hasn't grown into any better movie roles thus far.
Even some of Hollywood's biggest stars have wound up in turkeys from time to time. Paul Newman was so embarrassed by his movie debut in The Silver Chalice that he actually took out ads in the trade papers apologizing for it when it first turned up on TV. Gee, if every star did that, the Hollywood Reporter would be the size of the LA phone book.
John Wayne has had his share of bad movies, too. One was called The Conqueror, a Howard Hughes spectacular which cast the Duke as Genghis Khan. Even the advertising was silly. Is Temujin so wanting for a woman that he must quench his fire with ice? One of the great unanswered questions in movie history. Now, everybody's entitled to a few mistakes, but the studios won't let us show you scenes from films like The Conqueror because they want to protect their reputations.
Get ready for a major catastrophe.
You said it. Here's one of my favorite movie disasters, a Japanese-American winner called Tidal Wave. Actually, Lorne Greene was hired for just a handful of scenes to give it an American story angle.
That wave hits 80 million people will be wiped out.
Some of the best telephone work I've seen in years. Lorne's been in several fine films, but this isn't one of them. This film was so bad, I'm told that even audiences at drive-ins asked for their money back. Here's a scene showing people trying to get out of the theater where this movie was playing.
One thing hasn't changed since the time of that fiasco. No matter what the price tag, there's no way of telling how a picture's going to turn out. This year, millions of dollars are being spent on the likes of Conan the Barbarian, Grease 2, and Megaforce. A few more pictures like that, and, well, more people may turn to the simpler, tackier pleasures of Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla.
this is the sound of my guest tonight, John Ireland. From the man in white to the man in grey with the blue shirt, as I welcome John Ireland onto the open air set. Come in, John. Yeah. Hello. John, that was from the 1978 LP, wasn't it?
That's right, yes.
Yeah, how do you relate to that now? How do you react when you see it and hear it again?
Well, that was 78. I was still a student then. And I was actually in final year medicine in 1978, and I've come away since then. That reminds me pretty much of the sort of disco era. It was thump, 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 thump in the bass drum, or else you weren't really anywhere.
So it doesn't mean too much to you musically anymore?
I think when I think about my new album, there's really one track on the entire album that people can dance to. So I think I've actually changed quite a bit since then.
Yeah. You're in a fairly public place today when several people are asking me who was on the programme tonight, and I mentioned your name. And immediately one person came forth and said, oh, how can I get in touch with him? And I said, as a musician or as a medic. And this person said, as a medic. And I said, well, I don't know anything about that. But it struck me that this is potentially quite a dangerous situation. I mean, there you are in practice, and possibly now confronting a whole lot of people who want to come to you in your practice because they're fans about your music. So there's this difficulty of mixing and matching medicine and music. How do you cope?
In fact, I wondered about that, and I wondered what sort of effect it would have on the medical practice. And I've been surprised at how little effect. I think people who are sick will still come to anyone, no matter how terrified they are of him by the bizarre songs which are being played on the hit parade and what have you. I think that, and I think curiosity plays a very minor role. I think people are possibly even more embarrassed by coming to see somewhat of a public figure in a medical capacity.
It's interesting to note that you refer to songs, presumably yours, as being somewhat bizarre, but I mean, we'll pass over that just for the moment.
I think it's honesty. Really.
It's honesty, is it? Because you really are an entire musical factory, all on your own. I mean, there you are sort of producing, presenting, composing, doing the lyrics, the whole thing. Do you think musically you can continue to keep that up? Can you run a sort of one-man entire show?
I think so, and I think with the electronic advance, I've just bought myself a drum computer which is digitally recorded real drum sounds, and one programs this in and it starts and it stops and it plays drum fills and what have you. These are real drum sounds and all produced electronically. I think it's more and more possible for one person to produce a big sound with the advance of electronics and synthesizers, which have always been my interests, and electronics, really.
Obviously, you're planning to take this this whole new disc overseas and hopefully for big response, which in turn is, I should imagine, going to lead to a situation of live concert tours.
Yeah.
How, this must come into conflict with your other career, which happens to be medicine. What do you anticipate is going to happen there?
I think internationally, if something develops, my first LP was released internationally in about 18 countries. With this LP, I imagine we'll get a release in about September, possibly early next year now. We'll wait and see what develops. I think if something major develops internationally, I'll get a live act together. And then I'll have to consider interrupting medicine rather than giving it up.
I don't know if it's one's imagination, but the way you even sit on the sofa has somewhat of a sort of consultative, slightly medical air about it. I mean, not the sort of pop singer role at all.
Would you like to go behind the curtains and get undressed?
No, not at this stage. One doesn't have to say that I Like is currently running at #2. John, thanks for talking to us. The best of luck with it all, whatever's going to happen to you, medicine or music. And we're going to listen to I Like.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ice cream taken with a sticky spoon, syrup apricot, lots of cream to make it wilder. I like with you. Oh, your mouth feels so warm. I like with you. A tangerine liqueurs supplement the body juices. A cognac trifle gives the skin a taste of almonds. Lemon cream, forbidden fruit, kinky capers, kinky capers. I like with you. Oh, your mouth feels so warm. I like with you. Oh, your skin is so wet. I like with you. Oh, your mouth feels so warm. I like with you. Oh, your skin is so wet. I like with you.
And still in the music scene, American star musician George Benson has demanded an unusual payoff for his $1 million 7-concert run at Bophuthatswana this month. Having, according to informed sources, lost $200,000 due to a contractual mix-up on his Australian tour last year, he now insists on his whole fee going into a trust account before he even steps onto stage. Benson's manager, Ken Frisk, is set to arrive here to have a look at the 6,000-seater Super Bowl next week, before George opens his concert. And the blonde Irish pop queen, Geraldine, will perform the most intensive on-the-road tour of any overseas artist in South African history, when she arrives on September the 30th. This week, #1 on Springbok Radio's LP charts, Geraldine will play a staggering 55 concerts from mid-October up until December, playing every possible venue from northern Transvaal to Cape Town, even smaller centres such as Palabora, Rustenburg, Newcastle and King Williamstown. Gene Wilder has been making people laugh in everything from The Producers to The Silver Streak. But as you'll see, it's not always easy being the highly visible comedy star.
I was in the doctor's office yesterday and I was coming out to the elevator and there was a man, I wasn't sad, but I was very quiet. And a fellow shot out, "Gene, hi." I said, "Hello, hello." He says, "Do something funny."
"Don't say he's dead. The man is resting." Whoa!
He possesses that rare ability to make people laugh, and it's been the most successful in such box office bonanzas as Young Frankenstein and Stir Crazy. But behind the funny man is someone quite shy and introspective who learned to be a comedian as a boy, making his invalid mother laugh.
She always made me believe that I could be funny easily because she laughed so much at what I did. So I always had that confidence.
Act normal.
His latest venture, currently on circuit in South Africa, is Hanky Panky, which brought him together for the first time with Gilda Radner. Since their meeting, Gilda has separated from her husband and teamed up with Gene.
We have more in common than I ever thought I would have with a girl who I was both attracted to and whom I respected as an artist. It was a strange case of falling in love with someone's soul before you fall in love with their body. When I knew that she was alone, then our friendship grew into what it is now.
Can we assume that this is a basis for a long relationship?
Yes, you may assume that.
Although there are plans in the works for more films pairing Gene and Gilda, it's Gene and Richard Pryor who are considered Hollywood's great modern-day comedy duo.
Let me explain a strange fact about our relationship. I think it's fair to say that we really love each other, but we are shy with each other, painfully shy when we're just sitting and talking like this, because we respect each other a lot, and we're always afraid of going over that boundary line of friendship. But in the movies, we can let all the impulses out.
He's considered a comic genius and a man wise enough to stick to what he does best.
What I want to do more of is comedy that touches upon the things that we're most concerned with in life. Real love and the pain of love, the craziness of love, but not the kind that has nothing whatsoever to do with life. I want to climb that singular mountain of being as funny as possible while dealing with the most important things that a human being can deal with.
There you have it, the LP charts based on top-selling LPs throughout the country. Shirley MacLaine is certainly total talent. She did a television special recently in which she was virtually the only performer, and it seems that Shirley doesn't have any plans yet for slowing down.
In the late 50s and early 60s, they called her impish and kooky.
I looked up kook in the dictionary, and the closest I came to it was a person who was from Kookaburra, Australia. And Kookaburra means the laughing jackass. So you think they were trying to tell us something?
In the late 60s and into the 70s, they called her outspoken.
It's really hard for me to say something I don't believe. I might be wrong, but I believe it when I say it.
And in the 80s, she likes to be called a dancer.
That was my early life. That was my training. I studied from the time I was 2 years old until I was 20, all day long, every day, 8 hours a day. I was a dancer, trained as a dancer, and this other stuff happened to me, the singing and the acting later on. But I really grew up inside of dancing shoes. It's what I am. I mean, a lot of people ask, where are you? You know, where do you really live? People ask me, and I would have to say that I think like a dancer. You have to tell the truth when you dance. Everything about you shows when you dance. Whether you're upset, whether you feel good about life. Dancing is impossible to cheat with. So you do, you'll fall down and break your leg. And maybe the whole process of live performing is to keep you honest. I really think that's what it is. I really think that's why I love it so much.
At a rehearsal for her new stage show, Shirley, who is 48, shows no signs of slowing down.
Actually, I feel more energetic and stronger and, of course, happier, because I wouldn't want to be young again. It was too confusing. Now I've got quite a bit of it together with quite a bit to go, but nevertheless. And I've learned to pace my emotional feelings and my body and my breath and my food habits and my fun. Although I'll never turn down fun, even if I figure I'll be tired the next day. Because if I have fun, then I'm not going to be tired. You know, fun is a very big thing to me. You know, if I get too old to dance or my leg doesn't go up quite as high or something like that, then I'll just talk and sing and act and be myself, whatever it is I am at the age of 81 when I'm up there. I doubt very much if I'll ever give it up. I really don't want to.
Paparazzi, or The News. More news. This Thursday night on TV1, after the weather report, sees a tribute to that great man of American music, Irving Berlin. Among the well-loved melodies featured will be such favourites as Always, White Christmas and also Blue Skies. Some of the South African stars appearing will be Judy Page, Eric Flynn, Sharon Lynn and Graham Clark. Musical director is Art Heatley and choreography is by Audrey Turner. The producer of the show is Noreen Moody. That's Say It With Music, on television this Thursday at 8:35. More news. That bouncy, bouncing double B farce known as Who Goes Bear is currently playing in Johannesburg. Well, to answer the question Who Goes Bear, let me tell you that almost everybody, but not quite. Nikki Kelly was brought out from London for the lead female role, and she's in the Open End studio right now. Hello, Nikki. Hello. In actual fact, we really haven't had a chance to meet before this absolute second, but you've been causing an awful lot of comment, certainly no criticism, I might add, in South Africa since your arrival. What I noticed very much on watching the performance was all the oohs and ahs that came from the South African public when you or any other of the girls, you know, floated or flirted or whatever on and off the stage. And it possibly has a certain naivety about it, you know, the oohing and the eyeing and the clapping and the sort of astonishment. How did that affect you as an actress?
I thought it was charming, actually. I thought, how sweet. I suppose, really, it was a surprise because London audiences wouldn't react quite the same to the nudity or the partial nudity or whatever. But it was charming. it wasn't sort of offensive to me, and they're usually fairly delicate oohs and ahs.
Oh yes, I agree with you. They're extremely
They could come on stronger, I wouldn't mind.
You don't mind it being louder and longer.
No.
I could see it certainly wouldn't in any way be offensive. It couldn't possibly be that, but I thought it might be perhaps slightly embarrassing and could it sort of affect your role-playing, but obviously it didn't.
No, embarrassing, no, not at all. I mean, any reaction from an audience is better than none, I think.
Yes, it probably would be worse to sort of stride on and there would be total silence.
Yes, I mean, that would be very worrying.
Yes, one would sort of think, is the spinach on my tooth or anywhere else?
Yes, exactly. Or, are you out there? Hello.
I've read that you made a very strong point of saying that in spite of having no hang-ups whatsoever about nudity in terms of your professional career, when it would come to perhaps posing for magazines such as Playboy or others, you wouldn't do that?
No, absolutely not. No, I have had many offers in the past for doing that sort of thing, and I won't do it because it's that's selling something different. When you're nude doing a show, as I am, you're not selling nudity, you're not selling vulgarity, you're not selling sex. I mean, in fact, what I'm doing is it's an integral part of the play, and without it, the play would be nothing, really. You need the threat of the nude Nancy, which is my character, within the play, whereas if you're posing for nude photographs, it's a different thing altogether. I mean, I can't really think of them, well, I suppose I can think of the motivation for, you know, somebody who does girly magazines or whatever, but if you have motivation to do theatre, you're thinking of what you're actually doing when you're appearing there. You're not really thinking about the fact that you've got no clothes on.
I don't think that Hugh Hefner would like you very much.
No.
Sorry we can't have him here tonight and make it a sort of three-way discussion on the subject, and a sort of fairly fine line that, in fact, you've drawn. Look, let's move away from that altogether, because for the last 3 years you've been very involved with the television series Hi-de-Hi. I'm sorry to say that we don't have it here, and possibly not likely to have it here, so can you outline it for us a bit? It's totally comic, is it?
Yes, it is. It's a situation comedy written by the same writers that wrote Dad's Army, Ain't Half Hot Mum, Are You Being Served, all of which probably mean nothing to you over here, but they're big hits over there, big successes. They've all been running for a long time, and they're the same writers and producers that have done Hi-de-Hi. It's a situation comedy about a holiday camp, but Butlin's holiday camp.
Billy Butlin's, yes, I think a lot of people are familiar with that.
Yes, it's that sort of thing, because I believe you don't have holiday camps here.
And not quite like Billy Butlin's,
no. They're absolutely absurd places, and a place that I would never go to for a holiday, and I don't expect you would either. But a perfect situation for a situation comedy. I don't think I can tell you much more about a holiday
What's
camp.
your situation? I mean, are you the sort of gorgeous but dumb blonde who stands about looking beautiful, saying funny lines?
Not gorgeous, not dumb.
No, you ugly and intelligent.
Well, I try to be. No, I'm one of the entertainment girls, and we do just about everything from keeping the campers happy to, I mean, just in terms of organising their sports, we organise in their sports, partaking in their sports, partaking on stage a lot with the comedian, and just sort of generally running the camp, you know.
Do you see yourself in a comedy role most of the time? What about
yes, very much, very much. I just love hearing people laugh at almost any expense.
What about Sweeney? What was your role there?
Oh, I played a criminal's girlfriend.
Not comic.
Not comedy, no. That's sort of cops and robbers program.
And yet you come from a very serious, well-known theatrical background, where I don't think there is such a strong comedy association. I mean, it was Sir Johnston Forbes Robertson. He must have been your grandfather.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Who, in fact, opened RADA.
With Bernard Shaw, that's right. Yes, well, perhaps, I don't know, perhaps the fact that my parents are so serious, I try to make them laugh. I don't know. No, I mean, I love doing serious theatre as well, but not nearly as much as doing comedy. It's just such a lovely feeling when you hear people laughing. And when you're doing television as well, in fact, we perform in front of a live audience. So you get the live feedback all the time, and hearing them laugh is just, it's music.
What about your direct parents? Because we're referring to your grandparents now. Were they also involved with the theatre?
Yes, my mother was, until she had a nervous breakdown. She couldn't cope with it.
You yourself, Nikki, are you married or are you a single person?
Single.
And what about plans from here? Where are you going? What are you about to do? You're going straight back to the UK after a month's run.
Yes, unfortunately, I have to go back, because I'd love to stay. I love it here. I have to go back to finish off a television...
I almost believe it, but you don't
really
have to say it. Oh.
Promise you. Promise. I'm going back to finish off a television series which I've started. We had to stop because the holiday camps are now open in the summer in England. And then hopefully to come back here again. I'd love to.
To do what?
To work more, doing anything, making people laugh.
There's not a specific sort of bedroom farce outlined for you, or a holiday camp farce?
No, but if there isn't, start writing them.
Well, look, undoubtedly you love it so much because there's a particular quality about South African oohing and ahhing which is unique in the world today. But, I mean, presumably after your farce has run for long enough, there'll be nobody left to ooh and ah because they'll all be so used to the sort of current... I can only say bare-faced scene, and perhaps by the time you return there'll be no oohs and ahs left, and I wouldn't like to disappoint you, but thank you for what you've introduced us to over the last couple of weeks, which has given a number of people not only a lot of pleasure, but a great deal of humour. And thanks for coming along tonight.
Thank you very much indeed.
Kelly. Well, as our tailpiece tonight, let me tell you that one of the tribal rites of becoming a teenager is discovering the Beatles. And a new generation made this particular discovery for themselves recently in Los Angeles.
The Beatle Fest, a fanatic's paradise, drew over 6,000 Beatles enthusiasts to the Bonaventure Hotel in Los Angeles recently. The usual display of Beatle memorabilia was on hand, but what was unusual about this, the 6th annual event, was the age of the participants. Most of those attending the Beatle Fest were young enough to indicate that the legendary group now has a whole new generation of fans, the majority of whom were not even born when the group first invaded America.
To what do you attribute the young age of so many of these Beatle fans?
The music. When they hear the Beatles on the radio, when they start getting older, they say that music is much better than anything else out, and they start buying up all the early albums, and they become Beatle fans. There's no music ever been made that's better.
The music of the Beatles just lives on forever and ever. In fact, most of the people here at Beatlefest, you know, are my age. It's like Beatlemania all over again.
I just heard about them when I was in the 4th grade, and then I started liking them when I got into the 8th grade. So I've only liked them for about 4 or 5 years.
I can't believe that things like this still live after all this time, after all these years. I think it's fantastic. There'll never be a group like the Beatles, I'll tell you. Never.
So Beatlemania is alive and well in Los Angeles, indeed in South Africa, and all over the world.
Beatlemania, well, there's nothing former about those Beatles. They're still very much foremost and topmost. Well, it's time to close Open End for this week, back about the same time next week. Let me tell you about next week's attractions very speedily. Scott Baio, remember him from Happy Days series on TV. We'll be learning more about him next week, and we'll be taking a look at what happens to the earnings of child actors across America. And our special overseas guest is going to be Marty Kane. So, from all of us here in the studio, have a very good week. See you at the same time almost next week. Bye-bye.